It Invaded is about a secret detective branch that travels into idwells, which are the unconscious minds of serial killers. Basically, they travel into serial killers' unconscious to solve crimes. It reminds me a lot of the movie The Cell by Tarsem Singh, but there is a caveat to traveling into idwells, which is you have to have an urge to kill, and you had to have already killed, or at least attempted to kill. It is based on a former detective who is now being allowed to travel into the idwells because after his family was killed by a serial killer, he then became a serial killer, but they don't delve into who exactly he killed. But I'm getting the impression that he killed other serial killers. That is the idea I had. And later on, he is joined by other killers, a serial killer who drilled holes into people's heads, and a character who's not actually a serial killer. She's actually a cop, but she's kind of a sociopath. She is probably the only character in this show I actually like. Now, what I will say about It Invaded is it's actually not a bad show. It's actually pretty competently put together, and there aren't a lot of genuine complaints I have about it. My big thing is I don't particularly care and I'm not particularly engaged with any of the characters. A lot of the side cast is just white bread boring. And despite the whole show being mostly sci-fi, at about the last quarter of the show, they suddenly introduce psychic powers for one character out of absolutely nowhere. And it does tie into the ending and helps make the climax more dramatic and raises the stakes, but it kind of feels like it cheapens the whole show as a product. But what I will say is, despite my initial concerns of either them staying in one killer's mind the entire time, or it being too episodic, there is an overarching plot line. All of the stories come together, all of the questions you have are answered, and at least for the main cast of detectives, and this one psychic character, and even for a bit of some of the serial killers they investigate, they do explore the characters, their motivations, the reasons for why they're killers. They get into all of the important main cast members. It's mostly just the side cast that's left to the wayside. The show is also pretty aesthetically pleasing, and the soundtrack is a banger. So there is a lot of good things going for it, and like I said, I can't really say specifically too many things wrong with it. It is a very competently made show. I think It Invaded is sort of a perfect example of a show that is theoretically doing most everything right. It's just not clicking with me. Twitch and Discord in the description. I've been Sacrobolic, your envoy of hope. Bye-bye.